and welcome to Cooking with Kayleigh. Today we are making apple crisp because I got these fresh Macintosh apples from Ridgetop Orchids in Fishertown, Pennsylvania, near my school in Allentown. So I thought, what better way to use them than to make some nice apple crisp. Let's get started. We are going to start by preheating the oven at 375. Woo! So for this recipe we're going to need 5 apples. So we're going to start off just by peeling the apple. I'm going to peel it into an extra bowl that we use for compost. But if you don't have a composter, which I highly recommend, it makes great dirt, great for plants, and also just great for the environment. You can just peel it over the sink or over your trash can. So after you have your apple peeled, you're just going to cut it better than I did. And it's really, I find it easiest to cut the apple, I'll do this one, to cut the apple into quarters. Once you have your quarter, you can just slice off the bottom. Those can go right in the composter. And do a little V shape to get your middle out. And then you just start slicing. You want to make the slices as thin as possible, and they're going to go right into your pan. I am using an 8x8 pan. Once you start getting it really thin right here, you can just kind of cut along the thicker end. Just make sure you're being careful when you're cutting. So after we have our 5 apples peeled and cut, we are going to sprinkle in about 2 to 4 tablespoons of sugar. So I'm just going to get my sugar in my tablespoon. Just do like a little sprinkly sprinkle. That's 1. Two, a little shake. 3. And 4. Just gonna give it a little shake, and it'll all sprinkle in there also when we cook it. So now we are going to make our topping. So we are going to start with half a cup of regular oats. So I'm just using the oats that my mom uses for oatmeal. Oh, there's already a quarter cup in here. So we'll just use this guy. So this is quarter, and this is half. And we also want to add in a half a cup or a quarter cup of brown sugar. No, half cup of brown sugar. Hope we have enough. Oh, we definitely will. It's always important to make sure you just double check that you have enough of your ingredients before cooking. Also, for brown sugar, make sure you pack it down. Great. And then we need a quarter cup of flour. That's our quarter cup. This is oats. And flour just kind of gets leveled off. It's really important to never pack flour because flour in itself is very light. So if you pack it, you're giving yourself way more flour than you actually need. Then we're going to use a fork. We're just going to mix everything together. Oh, I nearly forgot. Cinnamon. We need a 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon. This is this one's a 1/4. You can also use nutmeg or ginger, but I chose to use cinnamon because I really love the taste and smell of cinnamon, especially on apples. So we're just going to mix all of this together, get all the lumps out of the brown sugar. You can also add nuts to this. However, for our friends back home who are allergic to nuts like me, oats is perfectly fine. Okay, and now you're going to need a 1/4 cup of butter. So 4 tablespoons is a 1/4 cup. That's about half a stick of butter. This butter can go elsewhere. And you're going to want to slice it up so that it can be easily cut with the fork. Some people like to just put a little bit of butter in at a time. I like to put it all in there. And really just cut it to pieces. Oh wait, I also have this guy, which is a pastry cutter, which really helps with cutting this up. It's just important that you make sure you're cleaning it out as you go. When you're using a pastry cutter, you kind of move in a cut and turn kind of fashion, push and turn. You push down and you turn it. And that way you can get all of the butter and oats and flour and sugar and everything into it. You can also use pastry cutters to make, I also use it to make apple pie. I tend to make my pie crust from butter instead of Crisco. I personally like the taste of the butter better. It's a little bit saltier and a more delicate crust. But that is for another time. Maybe this Thanksgiving I'll make an apple pie video. The purpose of this is to be cutting the flour, or cutting the butter into the flour, which is why it's called a pastry cutter. Basically, you're making the butter so small that it becomes one with the rest of everything else. This is looking pretty good. All right. So now we're just going to sprinkle our topping over our filling. I normally just use the bowl to sprinkle it over, and then I can just spread it out with my fingers. It's okay if it's not totally covering every single apple. It's not going to be the end of the world. Just try to get it spread out as much as you can. And then we put it in the oven, in the middle rack, for 30 to 35 minutes.